You're listening to No Plot, Only Lore, a podcast about games and the tables we play them at. Your DMs tonight and every night are Josh and Chris. You can find us on all podcast platforms or check us out at noplotonlylore.com. If you like what you hear today, please rate and review the show and share it with everyone you've ever met.
Welcome back to No Plot, Only Lore, this week brought to you by your dad. And I say that mostly because Josh has a fun special project that he's working on. Why don't you tell us about dads?
Yeah, I don't know how the conversation drifted that way during our work social committee meeting, but I wound up making a bracket list for fictional TV dads. So far, we're in round 2. Hal Wilkerson from Malcolm in the Middle is going strong. He's undefeated so far and actually hasn't lost a single vote throughout the whole process. But he does have some stiff competition coming down the pike. We have actually a bit of a dark horse contender here, only in that legally they are not a father during the series that they're present in, but Uncle Iroh from Avatar The Last Airbender, so far beating out internet favorite Ron Swanson. And Hank Hill pulling a surprise sweep against Randy Marsh of South Park. We do have a couple people who squeaked through on just random first-round buys due to draws. I would never have chosen Lou Smith from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to get through that first round, but he's here. However, he does have competition from his own show's actual father figure. In that, where is he now? I can't believe I've lost him in my bracket. It's so big. We started with 87 contestants in the first round. Many dads. But
anyway, Uncle Phil is in there somewhere.
Uncle Phil got through the first round and is going up against a few other underdog favorites like Miles O'Brien from Star Trek. We've got Michael Bluth making it through from Arrested Development. A relative newcomer, Song Il Kim from Kim's Convenience, beat out a classic here and is taking on Andy Taylor from the Andy Griffith Show right now. So we've got a real variety of qualities of fictional dads, from somewhat absent fathers like Homelander from The Boys to very involved parents like Worf from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So it's shaping up to be a real barn burner here, and I'm personally cheering for the likes of Dick Solomon from Third Rock from the Sun, but I'm seeing a big swell of popularity behind a lot of the animated offerings like Bandit Healer from Bluey.
Oh yeah, what do you think the chances are that we're going to see like an uncle versus uncle showdown with?
Well, so
Uncle
far,
Iroh.
we've only got 2 uncles that have made it through to the second round, so the odds are stacked against them. However, they are strong contenders. Uncle Phil...
They're both really strong, yeah.
Uncle Phil famously filling in for his nephew's development and in being pulled off the streets of a rough and tumble neighborhood into the Beverly Hills subdivisions. Uncle Iroh helping out with a really confused and tormented nephew in the middle of a civil war. So it's 2 strong characters that really exemplified fatherhood, whether they never had children of their own or lost them in a war, or in Uncle Phil's case, having children that were just resounding disappointments.
I don't know. He seemed to like the younger ones.
Well, the girls were all right, but Carlton definitely had some rough edges.
Good times. Speaking of terrible dads, are you familiar with Coheed of Coheed and Cambria?
I am not. I'm not.
Okay.
The only name I remember as a character from Coheed and Cambria is Claudio. Everyone else just kind of, is evaporated from my memory.
Okay, so as of the time of this recording, Coheed and Cambria just put out a new album, and it has some ties to some of their earlier stuff. The current arc that they're working on was narratively separated from their previous arc in a pretty big way.
Okay.
But in this most recent one, there are some things that have come back from previous arcs. And so I started doing a deep dive because I've never actually gotten too involved in the Amory Wars or any of the background stuff. Like I've been listening to and a fan of Coheed and Cambria for decades.
Yeah.
Like 2007, I think, was the first time that I came into contact with them.
Okay.
So it's been nearly 20 years. Used to have their stuff on repeat at the store to the point that Matt Bowes wanted to punch me every time Coheed and Cambria came on the overhead speakers.
I think Matt
Bowes never really
punch you for a lot of reasons, but
I also think Matt Bowes wanted to punch me for a lot of reasons. Primarily among those, I am deeply annoying. I feel like that was probably the number one cause for violent thoughts from my compatriot. Matt Bowes, lovely comics manager for Warpoint Comics and Games for 6-7 years while I was working there. Still lives in the city of Edmonton somewhere. If you run into him, say hi. But yeah, so I listened to Coheed and Cambria all the time. We had the comics. We had the Amory Wars comics, but I just never really got into them. I tried flipping through one a couple of times. Dialogue didn't really catch me. I wasn't really sure what was going on.
Yeah.
But so this new album came out, and I decided I was going to do a bit of a dive and get like some summaries of the story of Coheed and Cambria. And there's a bunch of stuff in there that was unexpected for me.
Okay.
Like, Coheed and Cambria are not the main characters.
Right.
They are also robots.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought, aren't they like the main character's parents?
Yes, they are
Okay.
Claudio's parents and also robots.
Okay.
And it should be noted that Claudio is also a robot.
Boy, that makes parentage a very broadly defined word, I guess.
Well, I suppose they're like, okay, so they're called IRO, like all capitals, IRO dash bots. And they are like genetic constructs that were made for stuff. And Coheed has like blades that come out of the backs of his arms, Wolverine style, but there's like 17 of them or something. And Cambria has like mind control powers or something. Very 1990s comics.
I was going to say, was this comic actually written by a 14-year-old? Because it sounds like all the cool stuff I was into at about that time.
Yeah, like imagine if Wolverine, instead of having like claws that came out of the back of his hands, they came out of the back of his arms, so that when he elbowed you, you'd get a sword to the face.
What if like Baraka was a good guy and his swords went the other way?
I forgot about Baraka.
How could you forget about Baraka? He's the best part of Mortal Kombat. Like, crank the goofiness to 11 and it's a guy with 6-inch teeth and blades out of his forearms.
I was a Baraka simp for like the entire time that I played Mortal Kombat, but that was like 1997 to 2001 was my entire Mortal Kombat career. So like, I don't remember much about Mortal Kombat.
Well,
yeah,
if you look at when this stuff was written, it turns out great overlap.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, Coheed and Cambria, they have some kids.
Yeah.
They're fighting a wizard named Wilhelm Ryan.
Uh-huh.
Who is going to take over the Keywork because reasons. And has also decided that taking over all of the worlds in this sci-fi series is not enough. He also needs to take over the afterlife. And he has a general whose name is the silliest name I have ever heard for a character ever. It is Mayo, spelled as in mayonnaise, Dettenwolf. And this is supposed to be a person who instills fear in us somehow.
I mean, if all I heard was like General Dettenwolf, I'd be like, oh, interesting. And then you tell me his first name is Mayonnaise, and somehow it takes the edge off. I was gonna say I did get into Coheed and Cambria, but like not to the level of like really paying attention to the lyrics, because
right.
I heard like I knew the lyrics to like Welcome Home and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was like very hard to sing along because of Claudio's voice, which is fine. But it's just like it meant that because I wasn't going to be singing along, I didn't really have to pay attention to the lyrics. And now I'm glad I didn't, because this sounds insane. I don't mind a concept album. This sounds insane.
Well, like, a lot of it doesn't come through necessarily in the lyrics. Like, I understand that a lot of it is referenced in the lyrics. Like, if you hear, like, Dear Amberlina in one of the songs is a repeated refrain. Amberlina is a character in the Amory Wars. So, like, there is the reference there, but it doesn't necessarily give you a full indication of, like, who she is and what the prize are and how they interact with the Keywork and stuff. I feel like I kind of have to like back up a little bit because like the world of Coheed and Cambria as it's first introduced to us is something that I think is actually really cool. Right. Like it's a system of 78 78 planets that are held together in a triangle formation with some mysterious energy called the Keywork. And the planets are all called the Fence. And again, like the naming conventions in this don't make a lot of sense to me. Like, why are 78 planets in a triangle called the Fence? What is it a fence against? What are we fencing in? What are we fencing out?
That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It
doesn't make a lot of sense. It has magic. It has technology. Like, it is very sci-fi. It's got like some Star Wars influences coming from it. And then it just kind of goes off the rails from there. Right. It's like, so we have this like really cool system of planets that we can go to back and forth, and we have like the cool symbol that everybody associates with the band Coheed and Cambria. Right. Is the Keywork and all of that. But then you find out in the first book that the main character's sister gets raped and then her father kills her with a hammer immediately after. Because he needs to save the world because his children are apparently going to destroy it. And he gets this information from a guy. He also killed 2 of his other kids. He didn't kill Claudio, but he killed 3 of his other children. So, as fathers go, bringing it back to the dad's ranking, Coheed is not doing great.
I hate this. I hate this so much.
Yeah. So, and that got me thinking about how, like, in a lot of ways, we like to think that having more lore equals better lore, which I don't think is always the case. And actually, in a lot of cases, I would consider it being a detriment to a story. Because, like, when you have a certain depth of lore, right, when you have a certain amount of investment in particular pieces of the world you're building, then you have a lot of opportunity for really great storytelling. Like, I would consider the Force in Star Wars, the original trilogy, to be deep-ass lore. Yeah. Right, like, you have so much potential in that because it is poorly defined. It has pretty clear indicators of how it's being used and when it's being used, but you don't really understand it, and you don't have to.
You know, I would like to rephrase your definition of poorly defined. I think it is well defined, but it is nebulously defined.
Right. Well, it's what I would consider a soft magic system. Right. Like, if we go to Brandon Sanderson's definitions of magic systems, the Force in the original trilogy is a very soft magic system. Right. It doesn't have rules and borders and end zones. You can't count the space bugs in your blood to figure out how much of the Force you have. You know, we don't have like the perfectly defined move sets that we get later on where like we have the force pushing and the force pulling and the force heals and the force jumping and the force speed,
Yeah.
right? And they all have names and they're categorized, and like it goes from being a very soft magic system to being one of the hardest magic systems that we have.
Yeah.
And that transition comes mostly from the addition of more lore.
Right.
Not necessarily better lore.
No, just more.
Just more. And I think that's probably the case with Coheed and Cambria too. And like maybe that's just my experience with it.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. Like, there's a very strong argument to be made that like Coheed and Cambria gets worse the more it gets written. Like I could sense that there was like a bigger overall story, just from like the few lyrics I did pay attention to, right? And then I was curious about investigating more of it, and I'm glad I didn't, because like I don't want to call it like sort of a God of the Gaps type like system that they had going on, but there's something to be said of leaving elements of your lore up to the imagination, you know,
right.
Letting the listener fill in their own version of the truth. You know, Quentin Tarantino actually spoke at length about how there are things in his movies that he leaves undefined because it allows for everyone to have their own version of the movie in their heads. If you think about the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, everyone can write a different story for themselves about what is in that briefcase and gets to experience the movie in a way that's unique to them. And I think that's really actually smart.
Agreed.
Because it like provokes engagement in your property, right? Like if you just straight up tell everyone this is exactly what it is, there's no like fun or mystery or like, for lack of a better word, like whimsy to it, you know? Yeah, I think
I very much had that experience with the like Coheed and Cambria stuff that I was starting to look into.
Yeah.
Like, man your own jackhammer sounds fucking great until you know what a jackhammer is.
Yeah.
Right? And now I know that it's a seismic weapon that causes earthquakes and shit, and I don't care.
Yep.
Like I was imagining a jackhammer being like some sort of like cool ass spaceship that had like some sort of jackhammerish type weapons that you would use in space, and that would cause like massive destruction on like large spacecraft or something, right? Like that was what I was thinking. I was almost thinking like hammerhead shaped, right? Like with giant ass like probes coming out of the front of it that would like hammer into whatever it was. You're doing a lot of ramming runs.
Yeah.
Right? Like the entire point of this thing, and I mean the entire song has this framing of like everybody who is here is going to die.
Right.
Right? Like if you're going to be joining this battle, we've already accepted that you are going to die. The questions you're asking are, am I going to be buried among the heroes that I grew up rising up above me, right? Like, am I going to ascend to their level in my death? And so having a vehicle that rams into people and does like kamikaze runs as your main force of destruction is fucking dope.
Yeah. It's super evocative. And then you find out he meant a literal jackhammer.
Yes. A big laser jackhammer that's going to do some seismic damage, right? Like, it's admittedly kind of disappointing.
It's so irredeemably stupid.
And like there is something to be said, I think, about the fact that like when Claudio was writing these early stories, he was a very novice storyteller. So we have a lot of lore that's very shallow.
Yeah.
Right? We have a whole thing about these like angelic beings, the prize. And this like emissary from them that's looking for the crowing, right? And again, like all of these names sound incredibly juvenile to me, but I am a 45-year-old man. And like, I remember the shit that I was writing when I was like 17, 18, and it was not good. Like, I had some edgy fucking shit that I was putting into my books that was like, yeah, he's going to be called the Crowing, and he's going to be totally badass, and he's basically the one from the Matrix. Right.
Right.
Like, I get that urge, and he's definitely improved in the quality of his storytelling over the course of the years, and like he's even gone back and like redone some of the comics.
Yeah.
With like a bit of a more mature eye towards them, but it's still really difficult to get through some of the like backstory, like the fact that, okay, I'm about to ruin the title of Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4.
Oh, fine.
Because that it's a great title.
Yeah.
Right. Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4.
Yep.
I don't understand why. Like, I get thematically, I kind of imagined that like all of the albums would have like a number associated with them, just kind of randomly, right? Like second engine turbine blade or whatever. Second stage turbine blade. In Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4, right? So I kind of figured that's how they were numbering their albums.
Yeah.
But the very end of one of the comic books, Claudio looks at his dog, whose name is Apollo, and says, Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4. And Star 4 is one of the stars in the Keywork.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
I am not.
That's heinous.
Yeah, right? It's very amateur writing.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And I feel like the platform that they have has kind of elevated them to a place where, like, I know that there are a lot of people who fucking love these books.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to trash on them. Like, I don't want to say that the books are bad or stupid, but they do seem very amateurish.
Yeah.
And have...
Not that we have a problem with amateurism.
No, I mean, we have a very amateur podcast.
Yeah, look at us.
But we're so professional. Doing our podcast in our suits and ties. Definitely not making clickety-clack sounds in the background while we're playing World of Warcraft while we're fucking podcasting.
I feel attacked.
But, like, yeah, as a storyteller, as somebody who like genuinely appreciates the craft of storytelling,
right?
It is hard for me to reconcile the masterful craftsmanship that they have in their music with the significantly lower quality of the lore that they've put together.
Sure.
And again, like, it isn't even the plots. The plots, I mean, we're not here for plots.
Yeah.
But the story itself is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you just gave me a story about robots versus wizard, right? Wizard trying to take over the world, robots need to fight wizard. Okay.
Sounds cool.
I'll fucking read that book.
Yeah.
It's not what I was expecting out of Coheed and Cambria, because there's such a human element to so much of the music that knowing that they're robots kind of pulls me out of it.
Yep.
And I was expecting like a lot of like rebel yell from the bottom rungs of society, like rising up. And I think that's something that they did so well in their new series.
Okay.
So like Vaxis is separated from the original Crowing arc.
Okay.
By at least one book. We don't actually know what happened in the last book yet.
Oh, okay.
But somebody somewhere broke the Keywork in what's called the Great Crash.
Okay.
And it kind of reset the world. So there's now like a new authority in what used to be the Keywork, the 5 houses of star supremacy. And they run prison planets. So like some of the surviving cracked up planets are being run like prison colonies.
Okay.
and the parents of the main character, again, we go right back to like the parents. It's always generational,
right?
Which is interesting. Are criminals.
Okay.
And they robbed a bank and they fucked it up real bad, and they end up on one of these prison pit planets. And that's where the story starts. And it's very like small and kind of human, and it has the opportunity to grow, and there's an emotional investment in this relationship between these three people, and like the betrayal that they feel against like one or the other of them based on like the lead up to them getting caught.
Sure.
And like it's significantly stronger than what was happening in the first arc.
Than all that
and it's
dumb shit, yeah.
Yeah, and it's continued like that for the most part. It's starting to tie, like I said early on, like it's starting to tie back to what was happening in that first arc, and that's why I had to go back and like refamiliarize myself with some of that stuff so that I would like understand what's going on in the Vaxis plotline.
Right.
And I'm real sad I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, you know, frankly, your analogy tying Star Wars stuff to it definitely like rings true for me. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had to hang my head in shame over new details added, and not just by like new Disney stuff, because like it's very easy to be like, oh, it's just them, but like, man, George did it too. So,
oh yeah,
you know, don't give me that. Like, nobody's perfect here, least of all George Lucas.
People have been doing that since he didn't have the budget for Wookiees, so he made Ewoks instead.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The entire existence of Ewok, I fucking love an Ewok, but I understand that a lot of people were fucking pissed.
I genuinely don't understand how an Ewok is cheaper than a Wookiee. Like, you
don't have to pay little people as much.
I guess, but like the costume takes it's just as hard to make, like.
But you can make 6 of them for the same amount of fabric.
I guess. But you don't need that many Ewoks, like that many Wookiees. Like, you can get away with like 3 of them.
That's true. Yeah. Especially on like, if you treat it like a slightly more deserted planet, right? Like they're living in a small family group instead of like a huge village or whatever.
Yeah.
Could have gotten away with it.
I would say 3 Wookiees are as combat effective as an entire village of Ewoks.
I would say probably more so, because you wouldn't have to teach them how to make booby traps.
Right. They are the booby trap.
They are the booby trap. You throw one of them at an AT-AT, and then it comes back with all of the people who were in the AT-AT.
Yeah, you drop a Wookiee out of a tree onto an AT-AT, and now you have an AT-AT.
Yeah. No, and it's not just like the Ewoks thing is fine. I thought like force whales.
Oh,
kind of stupid.
I don't blame George for that. They're stupid for sure. Sorry, the what?
The wills.
Oh, right. I almost forgot about the wills.
Yeah. The quote unquote wills of the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. God damn it.
There's a card in the Star Wars card game that comes up once in a while as one of the worst ever made, and it is the Keeper of the Wills.
Ugh.
Yeah, the irony.
Yeah, and we'll fight about the Yuzong Vong at some point.
I think it's helpful when you have a universe full of super spacemen to have something that is immune to the spacemen.
I think that if you're going to have super spacemen, just lean into it.
In the defense of not leaning into it, the fact that this is sort of to your point, but like they were able to get around super spacemen by the Mandalorians just being like, what about shotgun?
What about shotgun? And also we have the only metal that deflects your weapon.
True. That's also a little goofy. But the fact that they were like, hey, we just use primitive technology, and when you slice it, it shoots you in the face.
Yep. It's really hard to force deflect shotgun shells.
Just about impossible, yeah.
Yeah. Which kind of makes me wonder, like, how fast do blasters go?
I don't know. I know someone out there has done the math, it's not me. I love Star Wars, but not that much, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because you have to have enough time to like either catch the bullet, as Darth Vader has done a few times, or deflect it, or bat it aside with your lightsaber.
There is some argument about like what Darth Vader actually did there. So yeah, never mind.
We'll get into that in the next episode.
Yeah. This is definitely a Josh goes down a rabbit hole kind of episode topic.
Hey, thanks for making it all the way through this episode of No Plot Only Lore. If you're looking for more, you can always find us at noplotonlylore.com and on all the very best podcast platforms. If you like what you heard today, please share, rate, and review the show to feed my never-ending need for attention and validation.